I think we're going on in the video chat. Mitch Love is connected and ready, head coach of the Saskatoon Blades. And there he is. Mitch, how are you?
Good, Darren. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well. Man, it's been quite the last 3 days. Not for you guys on the junior hockey circuit, but how about these NHL playoffs? I mean, we just saw a video, 12,000 people in Carolina. We saw that Tampa, Florida game in front of 9,600 and the emotion. I mean, let's go back there because to me, that screams your kind of game.
Well, it almost looks like it's normal again, doesn't it?
Man.
It's great. It's great to see. Obviously, a lot of people have had to sacrifice a lot of different things over the last year of this global pandemic, and it's great to see that the world's somewhat getting closer and closer back to normalcy, and that's just a great example of the passion of the fan bases that are especially here in the United States right now that are allowing fans to get back in the building and cheer on their hockey clubs here in a great time of year, which is the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. It feels to me like, not that hockey hasn't been back, but when you see that, hockey's really back, right? When you see those fans in the stands and they're throwing rats on the ice in Florida, and I mean, that's hockey, right? I mean, what's the feeling up here when you watch that? And you have to play in a bubble or a hub. We're going to see, the game start up tomorrow in the North Division in front of no fans. Is it envy? Is it disappointment? Is it what's kind of the reaction when as a Canadian working in hockey, watching south of the border and they're wide open?
Well, I think there's just right now there's just a lot of things that are out of people's control in the hockey industry in Canada, right? I mean, with everything that's going on with the vaccination process and COVID still being relevant in our world. It's out of those athletes' control, and that's, I'm sure, been the message, as they watch these hockey games here in the United States and what's going on down there, and seeing the fans, and maybe makes them a little bit more, a little icing on the cake for those whatever Canadian team's going to get a chance to come down to the U.S. and play in front of some fans, if they move on out of the North Division.
Mitch, the Silver Fox, Kelly Rempel, is here with half a headphone, and he's got a question. So it looks like he's dialing up the old wartime. I don't know what he's doing, but
I don't know what kind of show they're running here. Paul, you got to get some equipment. Look at this thing, unbelievable.
Anyways,
so I got a question. I was fortunate enough to get accredited to watch the games in the hub. I thought the hockey was absolutely fantastic. Do you think the quality of hockey exceeded your expectations a little bit with no Europeans and there was 15-year-olds? We don't normally see that. But to me, it looked like Western Hockey League action. The kids were competing hard. There was no fans in the stands, but it didn't necessarily translate into boring hockey from my perspective. But you're closer to it than me. What did you think?
Well, I agree with you, Kelly. I thought the hockey was really, really good. I would say the first 6 weeks or so, it was very intense, very emotional, very competitive. I thought there was a bit of a lull in the games when the league announced no Memorial Cup and no playoffs. I think there was a bit of a lull, and I think that's as expected, with these young kids. I mean, you take something away from them or something that, for all these years that we've been used to playing hockey, there's always a carrot at the end of the trail, and that's playoffs or winning a championship. And so I think that was expected. But that being said, it was still, competitive. It was right down to the wire in terms of teams playing for the division. And it was just great to have back and our kids. And, I'm sure a lot of coaches would say the same thing in our division. We're just proud of the commitment level that was made by those kids to go in there and sacrifice 2 months of living in a dorm. And, it became a little monotonous at times, if I'm being totally honest. And they did a great job, and we're extremely proud of them.
You kind of touched a little bit on where I was going next. If you could maybe just expand on that a little bit, I'd be curious to know, I'd be willing to bet that none of you, not one player, coach, trainer, have ever experienced anything like that before, Mitch, where you're literally, I don't want to compare it to prison. I mean, let's not get carried away here, but you're not allowed to kind of have a life. You're living in a bubble. Every meal is catered. You're not really allowed to be out and about. You can't see your friends. You can't see your family. It's just a different type of situation. By the end, did you find that it was starting to get to people a little bit, yourself included?
Yeah, I think so. I thought there was times where it was, again, like I mentioned earlier, it became a little monotonous. We were a little limited on what we could do around, the city, obviously, and around the dorms in terms of being outside. And, I think from a hockey coach's standpoint, like all we did is wake up, have our coffee, watch video, prep, review, get ready for the next game. What's practice look like? What's today's development model for our players? So it was okay for us, as coaches, but we're in charge of 25 athletes and staffs and making sure that everybody's doing okay mentally. And it was a bit of a challenge. There's no doubt about that. You ask any of those kids, they'd probably say the same thing. And, everybody did a great job getting through it safely. Not having any COVID cases during the 2 months is outstanding. Obviously,
amazing.
The commitment level by the league, the health authorities and the ownerships to make this thing happen was outstanding. And it was quite the experience. Hopefully something we never have to experience again.
No kidding.
Well, that's just it, right? I'm with you on that. I mean, to go to the rink every day as a broadcaster and not be able to interact with any players, any coaches, or have any of those conversations, that's not why we do it, right? I mean, the games are fun, but it's the whole experience, right? That makes it that much more special. But talk about the World Juniors is kind of the next thing on my list because you're part of that group and had such a great time there. Now that we look ahead, what's the plan for the summer camp, and where that group will go preparing for the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championships?
Yeah, I think, again, Darren, a lot of this stuff hinges on, the health authorities, across Canada and what that looks like. I know typically over the years there's been a tournament in Plymouth, where they bring over Finland and Sweden and the U.S. and Canada and compete in a mini tournament for 10 days. It's highly unlikely that's probably going to be a case again this summer. A lot of the stuff we did last year in preparation for the 2021 World Juniors was, virtually. We did virtual camp, a lot of scouting through video to try to pick our roster to have a summer camp. I'm still a little bit in the dark on where things are at with that right now. I think a lot of people are, just the way the world we're living in right now. You got to be flexible and patient with what's going on, and we'll see what happens here probably over the next month. I know the big commitment right now for Hockey Canada is obviously the World Championships over in Latvia, and that'll be exciting to follow for everybody right now, along with the NHL playoffs.
The other thing, too, is the roster and what that's going to look like, the makeup of that World Junior Hockey team. And, I'd love to get your thought, because I look at the roster last year, and if you weren't a first-round NHL draft pick, you weren't playing for Team Canada. We had gone away from having undrafted players be part of the team, but with the Western Hockey League, I look specifically at that 15-year-old group this year. I mean, Connor Bedard gets all the pub and what he did at the under-18s. Mm-hmm. And that's the question, right? Does Connor Bedard, in your mind, does he fit into the World Junior team? And do you see him playing? But there's other 15s that, are probably deserving of being part of that group. They'll be in their 16-year-old year. You've got a good one in Saskatoon. Moose Jaw's got a great one. There's a lot. So do you see this group getting younger pretty soon?
Well, it's hard to say, if you just looked at the big picture, like kids in the OHL not having an opportunity to play hockey this year. And then, a lot of the, upper echelon players of the 03 group got a chance to play in the under 18s down in Dallas there a few weeks ago. And, that was the only touch of hockey they've had in the last year, which is unbelievable to think about when you really break it down. And,
yeah.
I got a chance to whip down to Dallas for a few days and at the conclusion of the hub and watch Canada play and, watch some international teams play as well. It's great hockey to watch. And, it was interesting when I got down there, I kind of asked a few people how Connor was playing and they were kind of like, he's young. He's 15 out there at times. And then, I watched the last game of the preliminary for Canada and then the 3 games that they played in the medal round, and he was outstanding. So you can never say never. I know he's 15 years old, but he's a phenomenal hockey player. I'm sure he's going to be knocking at the door, especially after that performance at the U18s here at a camp invite. But again, a lot of those decisions are out of my hands. But I can tell you, man, if you're a fan of any of those teams in our division, the East Division next year, like, man, what a crop of players coming up with the Jagers and Mollendykes and Bedards of the world. And I'm sure I'm missing guys, but
Benson,
there's our division's going to be very competitive the next few years. And if you're a fan of the East Division, that's going to be something special to watch.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't wait to see where it goes. Mitch, we'll let you go. Before I do, what was the first thing you did when you got out of the hub in Regina? Where's the first place you went? First thing you did?
Well, I stayed at Colin's house the night I got out of the hub there in Saskatoon because I knew I was getting out of town quickly after our exit meetings, and I had
that doesn't sound like something that you would celebrate, right? Going to Colin's house after.
Yeah, you know what? I just I had a quick couple days before we exited the city or whatever, and had to get down to the United States here to watch some hockey and whatnot. So I had a big fat steak that he had on the smoker for me at his house, and we had a quick visit, and I was out of Dodge. So it's back to normal life here.
Good. At least he treated you well. Mitch, appreciate this. Have a great summer. Looking forward to getting back to the rink here in the fall.
Yeah, you guys as well. Stay safe up there, and we'll see you in the fall.
You bet. Mitch Love, the head coach of the Saskatoon Blades, joining us here on the video chat.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.